how much fun that would be, and it would keep all the accountants and lawyers.
There are those businesses that come in and they will try and save you money, and then they take a percentage of what they save. Yeah. I would like to do that for Uncle Sam. I would like to come in and show Uncle Sam where they can save on the $2 trillion budget, and I'll just take a percentage for the savings that I create. What do you think? Are you in?
The Sherman Commission.
Yeah, deal you're in. That's
the Sherman Commission.
Small 10%
I sense something's coming on.
That's right.
You know, there's obviously the bad news is that, you know, really there's been no attempt to rein in spending. And that was one of the big reasons why Republicans got booted is, you know, they're supposed to be the party of spending restraint.
Not quite seeing the change we talked about after our
We are not
election
seeing
show.
the change. And I think the other bad piece of news is that, you know, there was tax relief measures, 2001, 2003 tax relief measures, Section 179 expensing, lower marginal rates, lower capital gains rates, things like that. Well, under these budget frameworks, those tax relief measures would expire. So really you're looking at a tax relief, a tax increase in those years. So there's a lot of heartburn over that. In addition to a lot of things we don't even know about. I mean, you know, there's a lot of details are going to be worked out on this budget.
Did we get any support in the new budget for the SBA or small business affirmative programs that support and foster entrepreneurship?
Well, yeah, but there's increases in the budget for everything.
Okay.
So they're definitely
everybody wins.
We're all winners.
Yeah.
If you're, you know, if you're within the agencies, but there are increases in for the SBA in some of those programs. They're also in the Senate, which I was pleased to see. This is another one of those gems because we try to pick out some of the good stuff.
Spending the money if it's going to help small business and entrepreneurs.
Well, in the Senate, Mike Enzi put an amendment in that would essentially create a framework for the Senate developing some type of pooling mechanism for small firms when it comes to healthcare. Market-oriented, not government-driven. The words market-oriented were in there. So that, I think, is some piece of good news that we can work with both the House, both parties on it to pull together maybe some type of pooling thing for small business that's going to be, you know, market-oriented in its approach, which we think will provide more choices, bring down costs, things of that nature. So that's another good piece of news. But this budget battle is going to, as they all do, they'll get ugly.
Talk about this a little more in a few minutes about innovation and intellectual property, but no harm done to the SBIR program that's been such a catalyst for so many small and technology companies.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
We should make that a show topic sometime. Yeah. Small business innovation research grants have been the catalyst of starting some great companies across the country, and some companies have gotten quite large, have gotten follow-on venture capital programming. It's one of the lesser known but greatly successful programs that the federal government supports.
Well, again, you've got this large budget framework, and now it's sort of filling in all the details, you know, as the next couple of months go on. The Iraqi people are probably wondering, like they did the last teleconference we had, well, what's happening with the minimum wage bill, you know, and the tax hikes in there, or tax relief measures in there that were meant to offset or mitigate the cost of the wage hike, but also some of the tax increases as well that were part of the Senate bill. Well, it's still sort of happening and going on. It's actually been put into the Iraqi supplemental bill. So things are being stuck everywhere. And again, you have a House version and a Senate version of this minimum wage increase bill. Same, raises the minimum wage, both the same, but the tax relief provisions are very different in how they pay for them. So that's still needs to be worked out between both houses. I do think we are going to have a minimum wage increase, but what the offsets to mitigate the cost of that in the form of tax relief, that's the big question in terms of the scope and the extent of those. Finally, another piece of legislation that we're really keeping our eyes on, I know in the area of workplace regulation, we talked about again over the previous teleconferences about the Employee Free Choice Act, which is the labor union organizing bill in businesses that would mandate one form of labor union organizing, which is the check card as opposed to the secret ballot. So this would take away private elections in the workplace, whether people want to join a union or not. Another piece of workplace regulation that we're really watching very closely is a bill called the Healthy Families Act, which is S910, introduced by Kennedy over in the Senate. a companion bill introduced by Representative DeLaura over on the House side. I think what concerns us about this piece of legislation is it's a paid sick leave mandate. Okay, so it would affect firms that employ 15 employees or more,
right?
And it would require 7 days of paid sick leaves for any employee that works 30 hours or more. So you're talking mandates beyond your typical sort of full-time 40-hour work week, and really bringing it down to...
company that's got 18, 20 people, that could really have a high cost.
Well, not only the cost of the day itself, but then the replacement,
right.
Workforce that you have come in and you fill in for that slot. So, at the state level, this is a hot issue. It's being debated in Washington State and New Jersey, and there's fierce opposition in the business community to this, not only because of its cost, but also because of its impact on other benefits. A lot of businesses have moved beyond, vacation or sick days, making that, okay, you have X vacation, X sick days. What they have is a package of paid time off, and they let the employees sort of manage how they want to use those days off to sort of get beyond, are you sick or are you on vacation? Look, you've got a certain amount of paid days. You use them as you see fit, So this would wreak havoc with that. The other issue that's a deep concern is the fact that these sick days would be counted in hours. It'd be intermittent. You'd have to count them in hours. Now, this was the same problem that we're having with the Family Medical Leave Act that the Labor Department is looking into in terms of the issues with that, counting leave in these, not only in hours, but in minutes. Also the definition of a medical condition. And so you have some of those things that are already causing complexity and legal, confusion in the workplace. But you'd be applying these same problems, to business that need to be worked out, and overlaying and including them. So it could be a real mess, a human resource nightmare, and of course a litigation and legal bonanza.
But don't you often wonder, with all the monitoring you do on the Hill and impact of this legislation on small business, don't you often wonder sometimes, what problem are we trying to solve? I mean, was there really a sick leave day crisis that somebody had to pass legislation to solve compared to all the other issues that do need resolution in our country or, affecting business? I mean, this didn't seem to be a burning platform that needed to get solved tomorrow. Or am I missing something?
No, it wasn't one of those. But, but again, I think...
I'm about to give it a double thumbs out of here.
Well, it's one of these pieces of legislation that the business community was not really that concerned about. But now they see, wow, you've got a presidential election, you've got... Dodd would like to expand the Family Medical Leave Act, let alone, do any reforms to it. You have certain senators in the Senate who very much want to be seen as leaders on this issue. But, it seems like all this stuff, we're moving to a European model, which is, we know what the unemployment rate over there is. We know what the economic growth rate
it is to remove unproductive employees in certain countries.
Right.
Is a problem. So, we don't want to move to that model.
Well, we're watching this because we are very, very concerned about that. And I would encourage folks to actually go to the website sbecouncil.org. My current Fox News column is on this, and it's 30 the new 40 because 30 hours the new. Someone said, someone emailed me and said, well, you're moving in the wrong direction. I said, well, that's government. You know how you're supposed to be 40 is the new 50 or 50 is the new 40?
Is gray pinstripe the new black?
Yes, right, exactly. So 30 is the new 40. And that's a big concern.
Well, while we're on things that tick me off on the Hill.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I know. Here we go. Stop naming stuff.
A healthy
who, you name the law, the Healthy Families Act, and now somebody who's got to step up against it has to be opposed to healthy families, right? I mean, which congressman is going to no healthy families, right? I'm opposed. I mean, they're almost, tilting the votes just in the name of the legislation itself. I'm tired of it.
Ironically...
Give me an objective title I can vote against and feel good about.
Well,
I can't vote against healthy companies.
I know.
Healthy families.
Yeah, well, he can vote against healthy companies. Ironically, those who support this say, look, we're going after the low-income workers. You really don't. But, they happen, tend to work in industries or for businesses that are very service-oriented, that You don't have the margins, the profit margins to pull this off. One of my members from Wisconsin, who I feature in this article, who's very generous in terms of his benefit policies. 3 weeks vacation. He providing with his salaries. I mean, it's extraordinary in terms of what he provides his employee. This will cost him conservatively another $80,000 per year. And he said, Karen, that's not in my budget.
Right.
Particularly when we're looking at a manufacturer who needs to stay competitive in a very, very competitive global economy. So,
and for many small businesses, that's a pretty significant portion of their earnings. I mean, that's...
No, that's it. I mean, 30 or 40,000 or 20,000 is
this year, right.
Yeah. There'll be
thank you, Healthy Families
Well, there'll
Act.
be no health care.
Yeah.
Thank you, Healthy Families Act. Right. There'll be no health care. So,
Well,
those
the other
are
thing that again, I'm on a roll today, so I may as well. But I actually have clients who have said when they see stuff like this come out, I'm only going to have 14 employees. I'm just going to stay small.
Absolutely.
And then you're saying, great. So now we're retarding the growth of businesses because they don't want to have to step into compliance with some of these laws. And, that's not a good place to put our economy either.
Well, you know what? The more restrictive and one-size-fits-all the government, mandates, on businesses, really they're trying to help families, they're trying to help workers. Really, the less flexibility it gives employers to help families and their workers. I mean, a good example, if you do this, well, how's that going to impact? The move is towards more flexibility in the workplace. People are demanding more flexibility. Well, become more restrictive.
I'd rather take that. If you're going to take $80,000 out of my pocket as a small business owner, I'd rather you put it in better benefits or in other types of learning programs or healthcare programs. Don't put it in something. I mean, how many times in your career has someone working for you towards the end of the year start taking sick days just because if they don't take them, they're going to lose them, and they didn't roll over, and they're not even sick.
Right.
But they're taking them.
Yeah.
This happens. It's just anyway.
Yeah. So, so the Healthy Family, the Unhealthy Business Act, or whatever we're going to call it,
that everybody would vote against.
One other thing and this is a good transition into your issue, but. The House Small Business Committee on March 29th, I believe it was March 29th, also had a hearing on patent reform and small business. And we know there are a lot of problems or challenges. There are no problems, there are challenges in the patent reform system that if they really, if they streamlined it and made it easier for small businesses, and it would be less costly, and it'd be less complex and less confusing and all that. But anyway, so there was and litigation in terms of patents has just been out of control. So that was one of the other issues that they addressed.
It's been referred to as the sport of kings.
The sport of kings. Okay.
Yeah, patent litigation is the sport of kings.
Okay, so. but they did have a hearing in the House on that issue, and we issued a press release and just said, this is great.